Thank you for attending the Week of Kindness. Coming up next is another powerful, impactful, amazing speaker. Get your notepad out, get your pen. Let's get ready and enjoy.
Hey everyone, I've got a really big treat for you because Michael and I, we've known each other for years, Mike, and I'm so happy this is the first time you ever join us as an incredible guest. And I absolutely love your program because you're what I consider the first step to me producing people's biographies. You know, when I get into
Yeah.
my production background, right?
Well, Tony, I love what you're doing, and I love the week of kindness, and I just think, wow, this whole week could turn into a whole year of kindness with what you're doing. So, congratulations on your 5th year. This is just epic. Way to go.
Thank you so much. So everyone, this is Michael Butler, and Michael Butler and we've been on 3 marketing cruises together, and we've
Now
had
we're about to go on another one, and
I know.
a lot of kindness there. Share a lot of kindness. Here, you go first.
All right.
You go through the
So,
buffet first.
so everyone, Michael is an incredible person to know if you've got in your soul, in your heart, and in your body a book that's dying to get out there. This is the man that you need to go to discuss that with the global book publisher. So, Michael, tell me a little bit about how you got started in this.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I felt led to go into ministry. So after Bible college and seminary, about 15 years in full-time ministry, I was feeling that it was time to really get into business. I had 4 kids by then, and I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad and The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and I was just so fascinated by business. And I always had a marketing mind, and I was always fascinated with story. I think it goes back to growing up on the farm in Oklahoma. And I can remember that first tape recorder I got that Christmas. I think I was 10 years old. Mom and Dad got me a tape recorder with a microphone, and I would literally go around and interview everybody at Christmas. And I was always the journalist of the family. I tell people that I was in television because I was the youngest of 2 brothers. And my job in the house after dinner during movie time was to be the antenna. We had a black and white UHF, VHF, and we got 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS. So my job was to get the aluminum foil and hold my hand up. I was taller than my brother, even though I was the youngest, and I would go northeast to a little bit to the left, 7 degrees. Okay, on NBC. Okay, back to ABC, come back to the southwest, and I wanted to be sure the family had a good picture. So I was watching them laugh at the movie, being the youngest brother. And it just occurred to me at one point going to college was, you know what? I've been in media for a long time. That was my start in media. I went on from there to interview my cows because I was having a stuttering issue. I was stuttering, and it was frustrating. From 5 to 11, I stuttered. But one way that I overcame that, not only through speech therapy and the grace of God, was interviewing my cows for a TV show. So I was a TV producer on the farm in Oklahoma. I would cut scenes with the cows, and then when I would cut to the commercials, my brother and I would do the commercials. And so we were thinking about video and movie production back then. But I've always been fascinated about stories, and I think there was something that happened during that time. I tell people I was just a nerd kid from Oklahoma with my library card maxed out. We lived in a small town of just a few thousand people, but we had a local library there next to the public school. And I would steal my brother's library card because I could only check out 10 books at a time. And so I would check out 20 books at a time using my library card and his library card. And that was my entertainment. We were limited on entertainment in a small town. It was summertime with no school, no friends, because we lived way out in the boondocks. It was church and baseball. That was our summer. And then books. We would go to town once a week and trade out those 20 books for 20 more books. But there was something that happened during the school year where there was a librarian in the school that I think she saw my frustration as an 11-year-old kid trying to speak without stuttering. And she ran across a book. I don't know if she special ordered it or requested it from another school. Perhaps she did. She gave me this book, and this book was written by an 11-year-old boy. And she gave it to me to check out. And it really impacted me in a big way. Had a sailboat on the front of the book, and this boy went on an adventure around the world, and the book got me to dreaming. And I think I was just so fascinated that the book was written by a kid my age And I just started dreaming about all the possibilities. I don't even remember the name of the book or the kid's name that wrote the book, but I do remember the cover of the book. And as planes would fly over my field, our pasture where we had our cattle, I would look up at those planes and say, one day I'm going to be in a plane flying around the world and speaking to people all over the world. So I've always been fascinated about story. I really have.
I had no idea we had such similar backgrounds. I was raised on 40 acres. Yeah. I raised steers for the livestock show.
Oh my goodness.
I had my father gave me 40 goats for my 15th birthday.
Wow.
I had a German Shepherd and a goat.
Wow.
And my guitar.
I had a guitar. Yes. Yeah. I have a whole story about the guitar.
Yeah. I really think we need to go back and finish our interview with the cows.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun because, well, I would watch, my dad would get up early before going to work and he would watch these talk shows, and I wasn't allowed, as a young kid, Johnny Carson would be on after the news. Well, my parents would make us go to bed after the news, and then they would watch Johnny Carson or Gunsmoke or whatever, and then go to bed. But in the morning, 5 and 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, Dad's getting ready for work. He's watching the Jim Bakker Show. And the Jim Bakker Show is basically Johnny Carson, except in a Christian format. He's interviewing people that have a different topic and storyline, but it's the same format. And so that's what I was seeing in my head was, wow, really fascinating, because everybody that sat on that couch either had a near-death experience or got kicked by a cow and almost died or something like that. And I've just always been fascinated. So as a pastor, you're figuring out people's stories. They're coming in for counseling. You're trying to help them put the pieces of their life together. And then when you go into business, you're telling a brand story because you're wanting to connect with your target market around a problem or a pain that you serve and help. And so you're wanting to tell a powerful brand story. So with us, we've published 715 books in the last 6 years. It's been a lot of fun. Authors in 33 countries. I've traveled all those countries. We've put authors on stage into libraries, bookstores, and into the news media. It's been a lot of fun helping them build their brand.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So, and it's funny because, I was raised in a very small town. And what's funny is my mom was raised in Mexico. She was born in Chihuahua, Mexico. And she never understood Johnny Carson's humor. I loved him. My dad and I would watch him together, but she was like, I don't think he's funny. You just don't get it. But this is great. So you've got, and that's what I love about you, Michael, is that when you take on an author, you are invested in them. You go to their country, you help them with the launch, this is what makes it so different from other programs that are out there that basically you become a #1 bestseller on Amazon, but you have the real publishers and not that Amazon isn't, but you have a different methodology and a different business program.
There's one of 3 ways somebody can publish a book. They can either self-publish and go to Amazon and do everything themselves. There's an upside and downside. The upside is you own the rights, you make 100% of the royalties, but the average self-published author on Amazon never sells more than 200 books. Amazon is only in 15 countries. And when you get outside the US, you realize the stats are this. Books written in English are bought and read outside the US. So 76% of books in English, they're bought and read outside the US. If you're writing a book for somebody in your college, one of your college graduates or your friends at church or somebody you play bowling or league with, that's not the target market that's going to be buying your book in the US. It's a woman over 40 that's going to buy your book outside the US. So you want to think about that. But I digress a little bit. The 3 types of publishing: self-publishing, traditional publishing, and hybrid publishing. Traditional publishing worked back in the 80s and 90s. It was where you had 2 million followers or your own TV show, you were Oprah or you were Joel Osteen or T.D. Jakes. You would get the call. They would offer you a publishing deal, but you didn't own the rights. That was the downside. You only made 7% royalties, but you did get global distribution, but you had no control over the way the final book looked, the interior or the cover. In comes hybrid publishing the last few years. That's what we're doing. That's what we innovate in, is you own the rights. You have full control over what the book looks like and the final copy of the book. We give you the same global distribution a traditional publisher would give you, and you make the lion's share of the royalties. And we bring your book to market in about 4 weeks, and we market your book as well. The traditional publishers, they're not marketing your book. We're marketing your book at all the major book shows of the world, getting you into libraries and bookstores and speaking and media opportunities as well. So it's a lot of fun.
No, it's a great business plan as well, because that really is a differentiator between you and folks that just do the Amazon bestseller. I mean, the thrill is there, right, to become a #1 international. What are you showing me?
Well, the other thing that's a lot of fun is, Jen Duplessis. She'll be on the Marketer School. Her and her husband did $1 billion in mortgage lending in the mortgage business, and she came to us wanting to do a self-help book, a nonfiction book. And we said, you know what, Jen? What if we created a fiction book for you where you're a character in a book, and we could drop you into Colorado Springs post-pandemic after the city has gone through a bankruptcy. You pull out your golden Rolodex because you've just exited a company and you're worth nearly $1 billion, and you bring industry back to the town. So it's got full color illustrations in it. It's a lot of fun. And you know what? She can get on stage, and this is filling her masterminds in her coaching program. Tell me I can't. So when it comes to writing a best-selling book, it's really all about the reader and what do you want the book to do for you. I teach a course called credibilitybook.live. It's what I taught through the pandemic and before the pandemic. It's helped thousands of people write their own best-selling book, and it comes down to how to write a chapter in 20 minutes. What do you put on the back cover of the book? How do you come up with a cover title and subtitle? What about the cover design? I cover the 8 aspects that help you write the book, get your book into distribution, become a bestseller, and leverage your book for media. And I'm going to offer it to your group here because it's a week of kindness and gratitude. I'm thankful for you, and I want to be kind to you because that librarian, when I was 11, she was kind to me. And so this course is sold for $897, and your viewers can go online right now, be sure you put in the www.credibilitybook.live, and you're going to get this course that's helped thousands of people, these 8 different video modules that I did during the pandemic in a TV studio after teaching this to hundreds of people, and hundreds of those folks have gone on to publish their own book. And it will help you. You can literally write your book. When I say write your book in an hour, I mean outline the entire book in an hour. And the fastest we had here is we had somebody write their book in 14 days as a result of this course, because I give you all the nuts and bolts, how to write it, the transitions, the hooks, the introduction. Do you know, Tony, the average reader never reads past page 9. This course teaches you how to get your reader to page 10 and how to get them to take action, not just to write a book, but to create a movement. Because why do you want to write a book? Create credibility, get on more stages. You want to change lives, right? That's what your book's going to do. You've got a story and it deserves to be heard. And maybe you feel like you don't have a story. I dive into the nuts and bolts of how do you get people to take action and how do you really change lives? You know you're called to change lives, and this program helps you do it. And that's for your community for free.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And, that is something that I've thought of a multitude of times, because I have been blessed with an incredible life from a small town. By the way, I'm from Mission, Texas, and I know you're in Texas, but we are Tom Landry's hometown.
Oh,
from the Dallas Cowboys, and his daddy was our fire chief.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool.
So give you some Texas trivia there.
We got some in common there. That's awesome. You're a woman on a mission. I can say you were born in Mission, Texas. We would just start right there, and maybe how would we title your book? Maybe My Mission and Beyond. It really comes down. See, here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize they want to write their memoirs, but memoirs are the slowest moving category of book. You can still tell your story, but if we attach your story to a how-to book, like the 5 keys you learn coming out of that, then you can empower people, sell more books, create a movement, and still tell your story. We go into all that in the modules in the credibilitybook.live.
Love it. Love it. Wow. So, and you've been in so many other countries. So do you find it different that people in other countries have different types of stories than, of course, people in the US?
Well, you know, I think people are the same pretty much everywhere. They want happiness and they want good things for their family. You know, we're doing a book right now. This has been one of our favorite projects out of all 715 that we've done, and we've got hundreds more we're doing this year. We'll hit our 1,000th book this year. But Powerful Female Immigrants is kind of cool. We're doing 3 volumes of this, and we feature 24 women from 24 countries with 24 amazing stories that are creating 24 movements. And powerfulfemaleimmigrants.com, it tells their story, and they come to Dallas, and we, you know, get them on TV, and we launch the book, and there's a big press and media thing around that. But I think overall people's stories are the same. Here's what we found, though, being in the publishing space, is 85% of college graduates in the US never buy or read another book after college. And so that's really sad, right? But we realize that most of the reading is happening in Europe. It's happening in Asia. It's happening in India, and China is the #1 English-speaking nation. So we talk about this in the course. You want to be able to target your book to a global audience. You don't want to time stamp yourself and time warp yourself. If you're talking about American movies, you want to learn how to speak to a global audience. So it really helps, and we go into that in the course.
And, you know, I love that, because I mean, that's where I come in, is helping people speak and speak their truth and speak their, what we call their signature talk. And it doesn't always have to be about sales. It could be motivation, inspiration. They might just want to get some education out there for the rest of it. That's why I think we just we're aligned in how we treat our customers, and it's perfect.
Still play the guitar? Do you still play the guitar?
I'll tell you a secret. I've got 8 of them, and they are all concert acoustic collectibles. That's what I'm leaving my grandkids. I've got Taylor's Alvarez. I've got a Fender 12-string that, oh my God, just the strumming is like heaven.
I bet that's beautiful. Yeah, we'll talk guitars. That's well, you know, anytime you embed a story into the point you want to make, the point sticks, right? I mean, stories, he who tells the best story wins. She who tells the best story wins. And so if you look at true world leaders, the greatest communicators many times are coaches. Speaking of Tom Landry, he was known for being a man of few words, and he didn't speak much, but when he opened his mouth, he had all the respect of his players, right? Yeah. And he was phenomenal. So when it comes to creating impact, we're all called to create impact. We have to get deep into the why of, am I aligned with what I'm called to do? And once we get 100% aligned with and accept what we're called to do, then that first book becomes easy. You'll write 50 books. You know, I'm writing multiple books. I've already published 7 books, and I've got books in the works all the time, new books, because it becomes an outflow of who you are. You grow as a person, and you're not in the same place you were 2 years ago. A lot of new authors make the mistake of holding back and not giving us all your good stuff because you're holding it for the next book. Listen, give me all the good stuff today, and there will be new stuff that comes tomorrow. I posted in my Floating in the Dead Sea a couple years ago. I was in Jerusalem at the book show, and so I went to the Dead Sea in Masada. And the thing with the Dead Sea, the reason you can float in it is because it receives water, but it never flows any water out. And as a speaker, as a thought leader, as an author and an innovator, you want to constantly be giving, because the more you give, the more you'll receive.
Perfect analogy. You're so talented. So let me ask you this. Let's go back to the basics. We talked about, you know, how and why you're passionate about a story. And I love how you became the storyteller that you are. But now, how did you transition? And if someone out there is thinking about being an author, what do you recommend? What's the best way for them to get this together?
You know, everybody should write a book. Not everybody should publish a book. And what I mean by that is writing is very powerful. You know, I did a lot of when I was a pastor, I did a lot of counseling. I had counseling hours from seminary. But, you know, and then when I went through my own divorce and things, I would spend a lot of time in the therapist chair, you know, dealing with my issues so I could move on with my life. And so I believe in that. And I journaled a lot. I wrote a lot. I mean, that's powerful. And that's because it helps the human GPS. We find ourselves when we get quiet. There's so much media and noise in our world. There's so much white noise and gray noise, and people are yelling at us and selling us stuff online, right? And plus we're looking over our shoulder, somebody following us and surveilling us, are they tracking my IP address and all this? And so we have a lot on our thoughts and minds. But when we can get quiet and start to write and say, and realize the most productive people in the world are the people that have a simple, minimalistic lifestyle. People whose life is cluttered and they say they're always busy, they're normally the least effective. They get the least amount done. So to answer your question, everybody should write their book. In the course, I go into that. And for your VIP guests, what I'm going to give is beyond the www.credibilitybook.live that I'm going to give you, is I'm going to give you a 15-minute free coaching consulting with me. If you've got a book idea that you've been bouncing around and you think it might work, and if your friends and family have been telling you for years, oh, you should write a book, and you want to run a book idea by me, just jump on my calendar at getpublished.beyondpublishing.net, and I'll give you 15. We can cover a lot in 15 minutes. Just bring me your pressing question or two, and we'll do a deep dive and run some ideas, and I'll give you some things to think about with your book on distribution, cover. It can be any question about cover, title, subtitle, market strategy, launch timing, and that kind of thing.
So, I went through a lot of different services that offer that when I was thinking of writing my first book. And the absolute hardest thing for me, first of all, the dyslexia reared its ugly head. And I'm an avid learner on Audible books. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to reading, I'm really slow at that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I can make sense out of a few sentences thrown together in a paragraph, but getting the paragraph plus paragraph was like a nightmare to me. So what should have taken me a short amount of time was incredibly painful for me to do that.
You're like me. I think I'm probably dyslexic, and in addition to the stuttering I had when I was a kid, I probably had some of that going on. But you're right, though. I love consuming audiobooks. And see, that's the beautiful thing. That is the beautiful thing as far as getting your story out. Even writing your book, you can use voice recording. But you can also, if you're typing something, you can have the program, whichever program you're using, go back and read it to you, and you can even speed it up. So the technology,
I use that a lot. Yes. Yeah. Thanks for saying that. But that I was just so afraid that I was going to look like a dummy. It was like, I don't know if I want to air some dirty underwear like that.
Well, you're a creative person. So creative people are wired differently than bean counters. So, I mean, when you accept the fact, my brother was valedictorian, he was math and science, he went into the medical field. And so that's what I had to look up to. That's how all my teachers compared me to. He was 2 years older than me. And they're like, oh, you're Ken Butler's brother. You're going to be the good student. And I was the loud rebel student. I was the kid in second grade. I like to create impact and create excitement. So on the playground during recess in second grade, I was the kid grabbing rocks and throwing them through the windows of my homeschool room in second grade because I liked the sound the glass made when it hit the floor. And so my brother and I were totally different. We were wired differently. My parents pulled out their hair, didn't know what to do with me. But at some point, somehow we figured out that I don't fit into a square peg. I'm a different guy. And it took me 40, 50 years to figure out what my lane was. But, and see, a book helps you like this. One of my authors said after writing his book, he said, cheaper than therapy. And so his book was for him. It gave him that opportunity to say, okay, I've got closure on this first section of my life. I'm ready to move on to the second or third section of my life. And I'm ready to move forward and leave this packaged and compartmentalized, and maybe can help somebody. So maybe it's time to write your book.
All right. So now let's get down to business a little bit. So there's a lot of companies out there that offer that kind of service, but very few of them do what you do. And so what I really want to do is let people know what's the difference between the others and global book publisher.
That's a great question. Yeah, the difference between us Beyond Publishing, and them is the fact that we're going to give them global distribution. When you look at the fact, I mean, anybody can put their book up on Amazon. A couple things about that. If you want to be in libraries and bookstores, it can't happen if you're publishing your book through Amazon. If you're self-publishing through Amazon, you cannot get into libraries and bookstores. And libraries are the world's #1 purchasers of books. So if you want global distribution, Beyond Publishing helps you with that. We help you with that. It's something we do. We give you the same distribution that you get with a traditional publisher like Simon and Schuster, and we pay you the lion's share of the royalties, and you own the rights. That's the difference, and we help with the marketing. So that's the big difference. Mm-hmm. And we bring you to market within 4 weeks, which is very quickly. So, I mean, we have people call us all the time and say, I'm speaking at a conference and I need a book. One thing I didn't talk a lot about was the ghostwriting aspect. I had Jen Duplessis' book here. If you ghostwrite a book with us, you don't have to tell anybody it's ghostwritten, but she's been out there telling everybody that she's so happy with the book that we ghost wrote for her. And, tell me I can't. We ghost wrote this book for her in about 90 days. It takes us about 90 days to ghostwrite a book. So even if you have a conference where you're speaking, we'll create a cover design and give you a faux copy so you can get on that stage and do pre-sales. I had a guy hire me recently in Las Vegas, and he said, I'm speaking in Maui next week. And I said, great, I'll fly to Maui. We'll launch your book. You'll go bestseller. And that's exactly what we did. We had a book cover. His name is Alan Asp, and his book, My Jewish Secret, we went #1 that day. We pre-sold books, and then we launched him about 6 weeks later, and everybody got their physical copies shipped to them.
Wow, I love it. I absolutely love it. This is exactly what we were talking about, Michael, and why it's so important that people do this. I mean, I deal with speakers, and so one of the easiest way to get you to be a guest star on TV, podcast, radio shows is to talk about a book, because they're always looking for that. Right.
Exactly. I mean, the speaking industry is going to go from $8 billion this year to $100 billion in the next 8 years, which is why I wrote Finding the Speaker's Edge right over here, where I say, hey, turn your part-time passion into your full-time speaking career, speaking on stage and speaking online, because it's a booming business, and it's a booming business for the person that learns how to micro niche and add value in a niche. So as an author, we've been able to help. As an author and publisher, we've been able to help our authors, 168 of our authors, to create this, carve out a niche and create a coaching program on the back end, because the book is the first order of business. You launch the book, become the expert, but then you build a coaching program and a mastermind around the book. So with 168 authors, our authors average doing 3.5 books with us. And so we're at 715 books. Last year, we ghost wrote 120 books. And so when you do that, consult with us as a VIP offer on getpublished.beyondpublishing.net. We're going to talk about, should you write fiction or nonfiction, the pros and cons of doing nonfiction, because if you come to us and you're in insurance, finance, or a heavy regulated industry like law or cybersecurity, then there's compliance issues that we have to look at, and we might talk about a fiction book. And the fact that 60% of books that are consumed are fiction books. And the other thing is, you can get fiction books optioned for movies easier. So there's another revenue stream to let people know about you. When you have a book gets optioned for a movie, that's a big deal.
I love it. So, Michael, you also have an offer for us. So we've talked about your gift. That's for general, for everyone. You've talked about your VIP gift. And those are only for the folks who have bought a VIP ticket. And then you've got an actual offer for us. So folks, get your pencils out and paper out. Let's take some notes on Michael's offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you go to beyondpublishing.net/publishing, what we're doing for your readers here and your listeners, Week of Kindness and Gratitude, we're giving you a full publishing package that normally sells for $9,900. We're doing it for $49.97 at beyondpublishing.net/ publishing. So that's the offer. It's a $5,000 off the publishing package. And we're excited to offer it to your listeners only, and for this week only, for the week of kindness, because the kindness that librarian gave to me when I was 11 years old, that changed my life, and it set the course and the direction of my life. And I want to be able to do that for your listeners as well. So I'm very excited to offer that.
No kidding. I'm excited right now. Thanks, Michael. So, Michael, we've got just a few seconds, but any last words that you want to give to our folks of the Week of Kindness and Gratitude Summit?
Well, I just want to say it like this by paying it forward and saying, if you've ever been told that you should write a book, or you've got a story and you don't really know where to start because you Google and there's so many things out there and people are trying to sell you this, that, or the other thing, or you're trying to figure out how to do it yourself, let's have a free consult. Spend 15 minutes on the phone with me after you go through my free course and watch the 8 modules, and you'll get a better grasp of where the industry is, where it's headed, where your book and your story fit into your overall business strategy of adding value to people, creating credibility, opening doors, charging more for speaking and coaching. Maybe you don't have a coaching program yet, but you want to take a book like I've done. You write a book and you create a whole revenue stream around it. Hey, that is good, smart business. And you become the expert there. And then you speak on webinars like this, and the snowball just continues to grow. So if you believe you got a story, but you're like, I don't know if people will believe my story, maybe you're looking at it from the wrong angle. Let's look at the 30,000 foot view and run it by me. And we'll look at some ideas on how you can bring your book to the world, add value, and let your voice be heard. It's very powerful. I'll never forget that first speech I gave when I was 12 years old to my 6th grade class, accepting an award of perfect attendance. And I got up, and for the first time in my life, and there's a picture of it in my book here, I didn't stutter. I did not stutter. And I got a standing ovation. I got an applause. And I'll never forget how good that made me feel. That's how good you're going to feel when your book is out and your book is launched and the lives it's going to touch. So congratulations. It's great being with you here today, Tony.
Love it. Absolutely love having you. Michael, everyone, this is just the beginning, and this is some of the secrets that we bring you on the Week of Kindness and Gratitude. Michael, I love you. Thank you so much for being here, and we're going to play on that marketer's cruise, I tell you.
That's going to be a lot of fun. It's great to be with you again. I'm so excited about the Week of Kindness and Gratitude. I'm so excited to listen to the other speakers and attend. So, in sharing it with my list, it's just been so much positive feedback from my other authors. They're having a great time here, and they're sharing it. You've really created an amazing community, and I think next year you're going to have 10,000 or more people, because just really creating a snowball effect. Congratulations.
Love it. Thank you all. And so on to the next. We've got so many folks and so many incredible stories, and that's what the Week of Kindness and Gratitude is all about. Michael, we love you. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Wow, I hope you enjoyed that just as much as I did. Thank you so much for all of that great information. Hey, we're not done yet, so just relax. We're going to continue on with our next speaker in just a few moments.